inmate at the Virginia Department of Corrections, Red Onion State Prison. To accept this call, press 0.
This is Red Onion Randy, and this is question time. I have a question here from Paula, who asked, what do the other inmates think of my podcast, and whether they can listen to the podcast or not, and what do the guards think? From the inmates that I've talked to, that I have told about it, they think it's cool. They think it's great, that I have the opportunity to do this. Unfortunately, they cannot listen to it because we don't have access to podcasts and the internet and so on and so forth. But overall, from the inmates, they think it's a great idea. As far as the guards go, some of the regular COs don't have a problem with it. The administration and some of the higher ups, they do have a problem with it, and I have been getting a little bit of blowback and persecution from doing it. Though it's, nothing major, anything of that nature. It's just, they're just not happy with it. For one reason, I've been here at Red Onion for so long. I know where all the bodies are buried. I know all the stories and, all of that stuff. And they think that I'm going to sit there and spill the beans and everything. But the fact of the matter is, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit here and badmouth the place simply because that's not what I want to do with my podcast. My podcast is more about my life, my childhood, and what prison life is about. It's not about trying to get anyone in trouble. It's not about trying to do anything other than, hopefully help someone to not make the same choices and decisions that I made. My podcast is about helping those who have grown up in the violent environment that I grew up in, and they feel lost. They don't know how to get out. They don't know how to overcome that violence and that past and that trauma. So that's what I want to do with this podcast, is to help them, and just to talk and, explain, what my life has been about, what my life is and the choices that I've made, and not just the bad choices, but the good choices, and the choices to overcome and to rehabilitate myself and not be the same person I used to be. So that's what I want with this podcast, and that's, some of the administration and whatnot, they don't understand that because they've never taken the time to actually talk to me and say, hey, man, what are you doing with this podcast? They just automatically assume that I'm trying to burn the place to the ground, which is not the case at all. I have a question from Dianna, who asked me, does pen pals help prisoners, or are they just a bunch of religious crusader bullcrap? And can I recommend a good prison website, a pen pal website? Dianna, that's actually a great question. Unequivocally, yes, absolutely, pen pals do help prisoners. For the simple fact, most people in prison lose contact with family, friends, and loved ones when they come to prison, especially those who have extraordinarily long sentences. So it's great to get mail. It feels good when the CO is passing out the mail at that certain time every day that they pass it out, and you hear your tray slot drop. Because you got something, and you feel loved. You feel like, hey, there's somebody that cares about me. I mean, it's an amazing feeling to know that there's somebody out there who is interested in your life, who has invited you into their life to be a part of their life. Thankfully, I have quite a few pen pals, and every time I get something, I still get that same feeling of warmth, because I know that, hey, there's people that are interested in me. There are people that haven't forgotten me, that care about me. So unequivocally, I would recommend pen piling with prisoners. Though I do have to give you and anybody else who writes prisoners fair warning. We're in prison for a reason. Not every prisoner is honest. Not every prisoner is straightforward. And some prisoners are pieces of crap. I mean, I hate to say it. I don't like saying it. I'm in here with them. But that's just a fact of life. So when you do write a prisoner, you want to be careful. You don't want to give out too much personal information at first. Yes, you can give your age. You can give, where you live. I will say this. If you can, go to whoever you decide to write to. Look up what state they're in, and then go on that state's Department of Corrections website and see if they have access to email. If they do have access to email, that is what I would recommend. That way you don't have to give away your street address. Or if you have a P.O. box, it doesn't matter. But if you actually have a street address, you want to be a little bit worried about giving that out to just any old body. For the simple fact, you never know what can happen or what could happen. So as much as possible, keep yourself and your family safe. And remember, some guys in here, they will use you. If you pick somebody off of a pen pal website, or you see someone has their own podcast or whatnot, and you write them, and within a couple of letters, they're asking you to do something for them, I would recommend just writing them back and saying, hey, I don't think this is going to work out. I'm sorry to waste your time. I wish you the best and move on. Because guys who ask for something within the first couple of letters, they're feeling you out. I mean, that's the game that a lot of prisoners play. Not all of them. You got some really good guys in here. But, sad to say, when you're in this environment and you don't have family, you don't have anyone helping support you, you don't have anyone, sending you some money so you can buy some commissary, or you can't get a prison job. To me, it's understandable because the overwhelming majority of prisons barely feed you. I mean, they like to keep you on the edge of starvation as much as possible so that you're physically weak. So if something does jump off, you're not going to have the energy to really hurt people or put a bunch of staff members in the hospital or even worse than that. So that's something that they like to do. So a lot of guys, they do need money so they can buy a little bit of extra food just so they can have the energy to get out to bed in the morning. So I get it, but at the same time, that mentality of give me, give me, give me is something that you want to watch out for and to be careful about. If you do decide to give them something, you want it to always be your idea, never the prisoner's. You don't ever want your gift to be the prisoner's idea, because then, for the most part, they're just simply using you. But if it comes from your heart and they don't ask for it and you want to do it, then you know it's the right thing to do, because they're not using you. They're simply seeking you for your companionship and your friendship. So I highly, highly recommend that you find someone, whether it be male or female, is irrelevant. Everybody needs love. Everybody needs to have at least one person that cares about them. And for so many years in my bed, I never had that. I didn't have that until the documentary Solitary Look Inside Red Onion came out and aired on HBO and other streaming services and whatnot. And then some people started reaching out to me. and it completely changed my outlook on life. I mean, it took me from here all the way up to here just to know that there's people who care about me. I thank God every single day for my friends. If someone offers me something, I graciously accept it, and it means the world to me, but I don't ask for anything. I try to give back, and there are some guys that are like that in prison, and if you can find someone like that who encourages you, who inspires you to chase your dreams, you know you've found a good friend. You might have to fish around a little bit before you can find one, but they're out there and they need your help and they need other people's help. And by help, I mean communication, friendship, and whatever love you can spare for them. It was a great question, and I thank you for asking it, Diane. As far as actual, can I recommend a pen pal site? Unfortunately, I can't recommend an actual pen pal site for the simple fact I've never signed up for any. I've never had any dealings because as a prisoner, I could never afford them because they usually, you know, we have to pay for them to get our ads up and everything. I would recommend just going on several pen pal sites and just, you know, reading some of the advertisements and, you know, how they talk about themselves and so on and so forth, and then just take a chance and reach out. And if it doesn't work out, please have the decency to write them and let them know it's not going to work out. Don't leave them hanging. I've had a few people do that to me, and I would wait month after month after month just waiting for them to write me, and I would maybe send a little, you know, hey, is everything okay? How you doing? I ain't heard from you in a while. And then they still don't write. And then I start thinking, man, are they in the hospital? Are they dead? I mean, what happened? You're paranoid enough in here without having a person who you think is a true, genuine friend just straight cut you off at the knees and never speak to you again.
You have 1 minute remaining.
That's my 2 cents on it. And that's a great question. Thank you for asking it. This has been Red Onion Randy. I hope you enjoyed listening to me. And I would appreciate it if you would check out my website, redonionrandy.com. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you for using GTL.